Hey, Scott Jordan and Mark Warner here for Jancast number 147. And Mark, I hate to say it, but it's Thursday, June 1st. And you know what that means?
Uh, Summer is, well, actually, the unofficial start of summer already happened,
That's right.
but the official start of summer is what, 21st?
Yep, yep. But time's moving on. Next thing you know, we'll have those snowblowers back out of the box and ready to go, right?
We are not talking about snow blowers.
Mine's got a full tank of gas in it. I didn't even fire the thing up all winter, and yours is still in a box. So we're both in pretty much the same shape.
Yeah, I am so glad I bought that and it's still in a box. Yeah, but anyway, at least I didn't have to summarize it.
That might be better than mine. It's had the same gas in it for a year. So at some point I got to drain it. But let's get on to the show. Hey, how about the COVID's Over show? We had a lot of feedback from our show 2 weeks ago. Right?
Oh, yeah. Well, we were talking about some of the things that just became memories. And I think it triggered a lot of memories in other people, too. I had somebody say, you left out the fact that the supermarkets all had one-way signs on every aisle and arrows taped to the floor, and you were only allowed to go down the aisle in a certain direction. And that was kind of interesting.
They had seniors hours too, so senior citizens could go and shop without the youngsters that were spreading COVID around.
And then the big dots on the floor, like 6 feet. Yeah, you can't stand any closer than that. That was another one that came up that we left out.
Yeah, well, times have changed, huh?
And then like the shortage on masks.
Oh,
and all
that
stuff.
and that and the vaccine and the boosters and all that. I mean, yeah, it was some crazy stuff. Well, I guess we've moved on because we did the COVID's Over show. So we decided, well, now that we've got all this spare time, we got disinfectants that do a really great job, have shorter dwell times and everything else. What's the next big thing that Bullen could do, and Bullen and our other divisions can do to kind of change the direction of things going on? Because, in the last 3 years, a lot of stuff's changed. Like marijuana is now legal in 22 states. That's recreational marijuana. And it's for the medicinal, it's in 38 states. So we got a whole bunch of people smoking some stuff that smells.
Yeah. And that's kind of takes the us back to the roots of the RX line, realistically.
Yeah.
So RX was actually founded on the idea of odor control.
Yep, back in the
80s. At the time, I think the odors people were thinking primarily were, trash odors and restroom odors and things like that. But obviously, things like smoking weed creates its own different smoke odor problems.
Yeah. Well, we went from smoking, and remember they used to have whole floors in hotels that were smoking. I mean, I remember going to a trip, I don't know if on your trip to China, whether or not the final flight from Japan to China, they allowed smoking on the airplane. So, I mean, and then cigarettes got all pretty much banned from, public smoking, and cigarettes is gone. So that ended up not being a problem. But yeah, Eric's started back in the 80s. And back then we developed the aeroside odor counteractant that, changes the shape of the molecule. But, with the early days of Eric's, it was pretty interesting because people would say, we'd use the initial version of the product, had no perfume, fragrance, odor, or anything. And they'd say, well, great, we don't have any odors, but I don't think you did anything. So we added a fragrance note because people wanted evidence that we got rid of the foul odor, but they wanted a nice odor as well. But, what we've developed now with our new product, Eric's 420, is completely different because it's fragrance free.
Yep. Back to really one of the things that people don't understand is that modern odor counteractants have several primary active agents. So there is the, literally the aeroside, which has the ability to bond to odor molecules. And that's all science that came out of the Monell Chemical Senses Center right here in Philadelphia, University of Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And it didn't have a fragrance to it. It was designed to actually attach to an odor molecule and change the way it's shaped. Yep. And literally eliminated as a malodor as a result of reforming it. And then there was the other active agent, which is the fragrance package. And I've mentioned that to people because a lot of folks don't realize they're two separate things.
Yeah.
And you can actually take the fragrance package, which might be a lemon or a baby powder or a signature scent. You can take it out and still do odor counteracting.
Yep.
And that's really what's necessary when it comes to certain types of smoke odors. So whether it's flavored tobacco, cigars, pipes, or the all too common weed, pot smoke, all of those are really will tend to stand out.
Yeah.
They get actually emphasized if an odor counteractant package is used that has a fragrance package in it. So it ends up being, wow, I smell weed and I smell baby powder too, because they stand alone. So the technology is to be able to go after those smoke odors without any fragrance package so that it just eliminates all odors altogether. So how is that for a quick run through on part of the science?
Well, one of the reasons you don't want a fragrance is that the new 420 is particularly effective against spicy and food odors. So if you want to use it in a restaurant where you're not worried about smoke odors, typically USDA regulated meat packing plants don't allow anything with a fragrance anywhere near the production area because they think that, the USDA's at the time thought that, well, that's covering up a bad odor with some sort of masking agent. So they essentially banned any products with fragrance and other than use in the bathroom. So it's pretty interesting, the transition of the whole thing, particularly with, in this case where the product is quite effective against these spicy food odors. So you don't have to worry about it in the restaurant setting.
I was fascinated in the science that goes into what are these odor molecules that are not effectively masked by a fragrance package, and it turns out that they're terpene-based molecules, and they don't end up getting masked by baby powder or lemon or pine fragrances. They actually end up standing out and becoming quite bold. And it's these terpenes that the RX420, which fragrance-free odor counteractant, goes after. It literally changes their shape, it encapsulates them, and it makes them undetectable.
Yep. And it works based on our sales numbers. It's a phenomenal
Well, you should
product.
see the demo kit, Scott, for the distributors. It's a little case and some rolling. No,
I believe you're supposed to go out and do it in your car.
Anyway, it's become kind of one of the hottest items we've ever introduced here at the Bullen Company.
Yeah, well, other than just this being a blatant product plug, which we've always good fans of that, the BPP, but give the listeners, the viewers, a fast overview of the other parts of the RX line, because it's a three-dimensional program, not just airborne.
It's a three-dimensional problem that we're trying to find solutions for, and that is that you can treat the air, but you also have to effectively eliminate its source.
Yep.
So, when we're dealing with pot smoke, you got to put the joint out, before you start treating the air. But other forms of odors, like urine odors in a restroom, or trash odors in a dumpster, part of what you're trying to go after is you need to eliminate those sources.
Yep.
So things like the smell of urine in a bathroom is a direct result of things like uric acid getting down inside the floor grout. And when it gets down below the surface, it actually has the ability to colonize and effervesce, release odor molecules back up into the air because it's colonizing and reproducing down there because it's got a food source. Yep. So to eliminate that, you can't just use a disinfectant on the surfaces because you're at a subsurface level. So there's very special products that you have to work with. And technically they're bacteriological bioenzymatic in nature, which means that they saturate down into that substrate and eliminate the food source that's allowing that bad bacteria to colonize and reproduce. And that's going after the source of the odor. You brought up at the very beginning of the show the idea that we've kind of set a benchmark on disinfectants. And so there are certain things that are on surfaces that can also cause odors, and disinfectants that will not just disinfect, but also have cleaning ability at the same time. So you think about things like refuse containers and so on, that those are surfaces you got to deal with. So there's three things. We got to treat the air, but we've got to eliminate its source, whether it's on a surface like a dumpster, or whether it's in the grout at a subsurface level like urine might be. So that's kind of the three-dimensional attack. And if you don't do that, how can you effectively say you removed it? If you don't eliminate the source as well as treating the air.
Yep. So we'll put a link below below the video to the Eric's site, but it's ericslabs.com. So it's pretty simple. So thank you all for listening and viewing our blatant product plug. But what else are we going to do now that COVID's over, right? We're
Mother Nature,
groundbreaking products that nobody else has.
Yeah, Mother Nature keeps throwing curveballs, though. And we're not even going to get into talking about cordyceps.
What?
Nothing.
Okay, well, thanks for everybody tuning in. We're going to have a special guest, surprise guest on our next show 2 weeks from now. So looking forward to that one, and maybe we'll do a show from the beach. Who knows?
Well, can I go there? Or is this the beach? Is this the beach?
Yeah, this is the beach. I don't know. Okay, well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks, Mark, and see y'all on the next show.